Welcome to the Cast and Camo podcast, where we talk about hunting, fishing, and all things outdoors. Grab your fishing rod, put on your favorite camo, or just sit back and enjoy this week's topic. Cast and Camo begins now.
Yo.
Good evening. How are you, Todd?
I'm good. How are you doing, Eric?
Just peachy dandy, ready for another day. It's Sunday. Favorite day of the week.
Happy first day of fall.
Yes. Yeah.
I heard a rumor that today's the first day.
Well, I don't think it's a rumor. I actually think that they, you all right there?
Maybe.
Want me to help you move around there a little bit? There. Okay. Yep. Got it now. Hey, so anyway, guess what today is?
It's your birthday.
No, it's the first day of fall.
Oh, I already said that.
I know.
Oh.
I thought I'd say it.
Guess what tomorrow is?
Day after fall.
It's somebody's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, I bet it's yours.
No, you jackass. I just had a birthday.
Oh, that's right. So, is it Sarah's?
Nope. That was a couple weeks ago.
Joker's.
Closer. You're getting closer to the asshole's side.
Buzzards.
Yes. Nailed
All
it.
right. I got it. Happy
Nailed
birthday,
it.
Buzzard. You come to my stream tomorrow, Buzzard. I'll sing you happy birthday.
Oh, Minnesota Jesus.
Yeah.
He's all in. Well, welcome everyone to Cast and Camo once again. It is Sunday evening, and we are here next week. Just a precursor next week. I doubt we'll be doing a show because I will be in Wisconsin at Lambeau Field for the Vikings-Packers game. So probably not going to be a show next week. So just a fair warning for you, Eric. I'm going to be gone.
I guess I'll have to do a show next week now. Dang on it, we did one the last time you were gone, and it didn't work out too well. Soggy kind of messed that up.
Well, that's what you get for trusting.
I asked him about catching fish, and he hasn't caught a fish for a year.
That's right. Vikings, let's go. Absolutely. Well, welcome in everybody. Thanks for being here. Yeah, right. Soggy says. Well, let's take care of some housekeeping items, I suppose. We've got first of all, exclamation point short. I'm going to do it. Exclamation point short in chat. It's our first YouTube short.
Short.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work on your audio. I think it's a little tin canny, but we'll get it. I think it'll be okay. It's not you. I think it's the Video Ninja. We'll figure it out. It's gonna be fine.
All right. Do I sound tin canny to you guys? Do I sound like I'm in a tin can?
No.
Buzzard says thank you. What do you mean? Yes, I don't trust a thing you say. Well, and I don't trust the other one. Mommy, I trust Mommy. I trust Mommy. I never lie. Look at that. Oh, wow. Well, I used to be all right.
Yeah, you sound the same as you did to me last week. And it sounded okay on the VOD, so.
Yeah, nothing's changed. I mean, I just checked audio. Everything is where it's supposed to be routed through and running properly.
All right, we'll roll with it.
Oh, we got a raid. Welcome in, Miss Kelly Cakes.
Welcome in, everybody from Kelly Cakes. We are just kind of getting going, and we're going to take care of some housekeeping to start off with. So we were talking about the short YouTube, our first YouTube short. There's going to be more of those coming up. So I'm excited for those. We're going to take the funniest parts of the show and try to make some YouTube shorts out of them. We have plenty of content to pick from because you guys are always making fun of me about something. Yeah. No, you too.
I've never made fun of you.
Okay. Anywho, if you are watching on YouTube later, we are live. So if you hear us talking to people and we just heard us talking about we got a raid from Kelly Cakes, we are live on Twitch under Cast and Camo every Sunday night at 7 p.m. except for next Sunday. So join in, give us a follow on Twitch, Cast and Camo. Join in on the fun if you think it sounds like it's fun to come into the chat and banter with us and make fun of Chief and Joker. Those are all welcome. Make fun of both of them.
Thanks.
But if you're watching on Twitch and you don't know, we do have a YouTube channel. It's Cast and Camo TV on YouTube. All of our previous episodes are on YouTube under Cast and Camo TV. Give us a subscribe, a like, and a comment. Our biggest fan right now on YouTube is Banana Sack, believe it or not. I think he has commented more on our videos than everybody else combined in the 12 months. Can you believe it's been 12 months?
No. It couldn't be.
I don't know the exact date, but it's close. We're close.
The problem of it is when you say we've almost been a year or we are a year, it kind of bothers me because that means tax season's right around the corner.
Well, we still got 6 months for that.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, unless you do it in January.
Well, true. This is true. Let's talk about sponsors. We have sponsors, Eric. Did you know that?
No. Who are they?
Know that? Well, let me fill you in. We are sponsored by Texas Select Seasonings, ! BBQ in chat. That will bring you to the Texas Select Seasonings website, and you can enter Cast and Camo in all caps to get 15% off of that order. Cast and Camo in all caps to get 15% off of Texas Select Seasoning. Again, ! BBQ. Thank you, Buzzard, for dropping that. Also sponsored by Seark. Both Eric and I are rocking our Seark hats tonight. Again. ! Seark, SEAARK in chat. And if you're watching on YouTube, all of these links will be down in the description below. And last but not least, it is deer season. And you and I, Eric, were just talking about this today. It's in some cases, it's time to throw down some seed, right?
Yep.
It's getting close.
I actually did today. I threw down seed today. Yep.
Awesome.
I put my first food plot out today.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You can get your own food plot source and minerals and everything that you need to grow big deer on your property at Deer 30. ! Deer 30. Buzzard's already dropped that link in the chat. Cast and Camo 24 to get 24% off. 24% off. And we are going to hit those guys up for a 1% increase once it hits 2025. They might tell us to go pound sand, but I'm still going to ask for it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And last but not least, ourselves. ! Discord. If you want to join our Discord, there's a link in YouTube as well in the description. Join our Discord. You'll get all of the notifications, and we'll start posting some more things in there as we go. I'm sure now that it's hunting season, we'll start posting a lot of hunting stuff, and it should be. Thank you, Buzzard. Buzzard's trying to get mod status. He's the best mod we have right now, and he's not even a mod. How about that? He's getting dropped as a mod of everywhere else, so he needs to pick up somewhere. Did I say that out loud? Not sure I did. Just keep talking, dummy. What's up, Joker? What's up, buddy? Anywho.
Oh, you're in deep shit.
Yeah. All right. So last week we talked warm weather whitetails. What do you do when you have shot a deer and it's still 94 degrees, as it has been pretty much everywhere? It finally cooled off a little bit here this weekend. But I couldn't go hunting this weekend because I had people partying in my hunting spot. So it would have been completely pointless for me to go. but it would have been a gorgeous weekend to be in the stand. I kind of regret it, but it's that time. I can't wait to get in the stand. Hopefully soon we'll start getting things ironed out and maybe take some afternoons off and go up after work and maybe stream. I don't know. We did last year. It was fun. But I'm going to tell you on the topic that we're talking about tonight, Eric, I'm going to chime in a couple times on how streaming hunting is different because of our topic than just hunting normally. And it's all about cell signal, right? If you're trying to stream, you can't stream without cell signal. So, but this week we are going to talk about deer stand placement strategy. There's a lot that goes into it, is there not, Eric?
Yes. A lot more than you would think.
There's a ton more than you think. And this is, I'll kind of set the stage that it's, if you can, like a lot of people, if you're hunting public land, you may not have the ability to do a lot of the research and multiple stands. You just might not have that ability to do that. But for those of us that are on public property or private property, you have the ability to do a lot of these things. And if you want to be successful, this is, it starts with scent, and we've talked about scent quite a bit recently. It starts with scent. It starts with stand placement, and that starts with a lot of research. Now, how much research do you do on your property? You put up trail cameras still?
Yes.
How many trail cameras do you have up right now?
Right now, there is only 3 up right now, and we're going to put 5 more up within the next week.
Okay. So what is your goal when you're putting up those trail cameras?
Right now, this early, I'm doing anywhere where I have intersections close to the area that I hunt. Like if I have 2 or 3 trails coming into one intersection and they're using the trail quite a bit, I'll place that trail cam on that but it gets moved. As we get closer, then I'm moving.
Closer to which season?
To where I'm gonna hunt. When I get ready to go down there and hunt, then I will enclose the cameras that I use a lot closer to the area where I'm gonna be hunting.
Does it change your mind ever? Has it changed your mind in the past?
Yeah, it has, but you can't let that do that. That's where you screw up, because I've been down there, check the camera, and I got this great big buck on there. So what I do, I go over to the field because my camera's next to the field. So I go out and get in my blind on the edge of the field, waiting for him to come out in that area, and the next night he walks right under my stand and my trail camera picks it up. I've had that happen a couple times, and it's like, I gotta quit this. You just can't jump around because trail cameras are telling you have deer movement. Now, if I get that deer 5 nights in a row at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, a whole different ball game then. But I don't know. Trail cameras are there to let you know what's in your area, basically. And it's easy to get sidetracked and start going to where the trail camera, you see this great big buck. And probably the best thing to do is check your trail camera once a week instead of every night, or every morning, whatever you do with it. So, yeah, that would be... I mean, I've been hunting since I've been 12 years old, deer hunting. Now, I haven't used trail camera. I've used trail cameras maybe the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And we started out with one, and it got stolen the first week we bought it and put it out.
Sorry about that.
I mean, and then we bought another one and put it up. It lasted for maybe a month, and it got stolen. So it not on the farm that I am now, the farm that I lived on before I moved over here to this. So, and I'm sure it was kids on 4-wheelers because we kept getting 4-wheelers trespassing on the property, riding right by the trail cameras. And then one day they disappeared. So
Did you ever catch them?
No, I knew who it was, though. I knew it was kids from town that were riding their four-wheelers, but to figure out which one it was, that would be hard.
See, that sounds fun all in itself. That's a different kind of hunting.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Hunting humans.
But the trail cameras, I don't know. So here's my thoughts on deer, and this is only mine from what I've hunted. Right now, your deer have a pattern that they have figured out and that they use. I'm telling you, every time we get into that moon phase change, them deer change.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get into the rut. Everything that you've seen before is blown out of the window.
Yeah.
At that point. So I've always called it 3 different hunts in the fall. You have the early fall, you have the pre-rut, and then you have the rut. Yep. And all 3 of that, the deer will change their travel patterns.
And I think a lot of the research and the studies show, and just history, like I've had a lot of big bucks on camera in August, September, early September. They're kind of moseying around in that late summer, early fall. And once that pre-rut starts, man, you don't see them. You may not see them the rest of the season through rifle season. They go to, and we're not going to get into the topic of home areas, because that is a whole nother topic that I would love to get into at some point. And I think it would be there's a lot of really awesome studies now with GPSs and collaring deer. They're getting a lot of really interesting information on deer home area. And just, I don't think we can have this discussion about where to put your stands up without talking about home area a little bit. Yeah. And they say, anywhere from 250 to 600 acres or square acres, but you have to keep in mind, it's not always a square. It literally could be miles along a riverside or an oval, or they have, based on the terrain and the food sources and water sources, they have a big home range, but they have what their studies are showing is that they have like 2 core home ranges. That's where they're the most comfortable, and they're going to spend a lot more of their time there, especially during the times that people are out and about. So the idea is to try to get to those areas where these big bucks are, if that's what you're hunting for. We're kind of doing the assumption of hunting for trophies, and sometimes I do, and sometimes I'm hunting for the freezer. Most times I'm hunting for the freezer because I like venison too much. I don't want to sit and wait.
I always nothing against your freezer, but when I start hunting for meat, that's when I never get one. You know what I mean? When I'm like really wanting the meat. Yeah. I go out and I'll get them walk past me 100 yards away with the bow and arrow. Yeah. All week long. They'll be on, and I'm like, I want some jerky so bad. So I kind of got out of that mindset. You got to go out there and hunt the deer instead of going out there meat hunting, because when you get into meat hunting, I think I screw up more when I'm out there trying to get meat, because I want it so bad. I love deer meat.
You watched me last year. It was in my freaking head last year because my freezer was empty. My main goal last year wasn't antlers. I mean, it could have shot that 8-point buck right in front of me that was literally came up and licked my boots, but I passed. I was looking for goats. At the end of
the year, you should have done that then. By the end of the, honestly, after, and I thought about that. At the end of the year, you should have probably shot that deer.
Yeah, but it wasn't the end of the year. It was 84 degrees.
I know. So now you've got that fixed because you got this big cooler ice shack that's now a refrigerator.
That's right.
That you can hang your deer in 85-degree weather, and you're all taken care of now, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna get that. What do they call it? What did we? It doesn't matter. That was last week. Anywho, the point being.
Right, just going back on your cameras. I think the cameras are good for hunting and identifying the animals that are on your property.
Yes.
That's my feeling on it. When I get closer to the rut, and I will bring them cameras in closer to me. I may, like on our farm, from where I park my truck to where I go to my stand. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stands, but my furthest stand is probably a mile from the truck that I walked today with you when I was talking to you. So anyway, that mile, I may have 3 or 4 cameras in that mile up that wood lines and along the field, because right now we have soybeans planted, and they're planted right up against the woods. And there is a very small piece of dirt between the woods and that. You can't get a 4-wheeler. You can just barely walk through it. But today when I was down there, the deer have totally browsed that whole tree line. It is completely browsed at deer head reach. And I know we're overpopulated with deer. 100. And when you start seeing browse lines on your properties and where you hunt, your deer are starting to get too many at that point. And I was looking at that today, and I'm like, there's 3 of us that deer hunt down there on a lot of property. And I see 40, 50 deer a day down there when I'm hunting. It's totally ridiculous. And there's no way we're going to keep that deer count in track. Now I'm allowed to shoot as many does as I want in Kentucky here in our zone.
Right.
I can shoot 50 does if I want, but I'm allowed 1 buck. But what am I going to do with it? I'm not going to waste a deer. So I just shoot my 1 buck. And like last year, I shot 3 does. That's the most I filled my first whole tag. And I used all that. I made sausage. I made, Slim Jims, all that stuff out of it last year. Snap it to
a Slim Eric.
Yeah. So it was kind of different.
The good news for you is you do know somebody that is willing to come down to Kentucky and help with some of that herd management.
Yeah. Okay. What's her name?
Todd.
Todd?
Yeah.
Where's Todd live?
Minnesota.
And Todd, we talked about this last year, remember?
Yep.
And what did you say? I am not spending $600 to come and kill. It's ridiculous, honestly. Swear to God, for someone to come here and hunt, it's probably going to cost them what, Todd? I mean, we looked at that. I forget what it ended up being. It's like $600 or $700 it was going to cost you to come here and hunt.
Well, and that's because Kentucky's laws are freaking stupid. And normally it's everybody else telling us in Minnesota that our laws are stupid. But the fact that you have to buy basically 3 licenses in Kentucky is ridiculous. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for the raid, Kelly. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I don't understand it. It's just like me. If I come to your state, I bet it's going to cost me $500 or $600 to come there and hunt.
No.
My non-resident deer tag?
No, it's like $175.
All right. So what else is it going to cost me? My food, my gas.
Yeah.
All right. So start adding that up.
Well,
I mean, you're gonna spend some money on these trips now.
Of course.
I mean, now, if you come over with your deer tag, you get a non-resident deer tag. You can kill 4 deer on that deer tag.
Yep. Oh, and
you can kill all 4 of them.
You better believe
1 buck and 3 does.
Yep.
You can kill on that deer tag. You're going to have, we'll just say you get a real nice buck that weighs 270 pounds here, 250 pounds. So you're probably going to go home with 3 does at about 50 to 60 pound of meat out of each one of them. And you're probably going to have about 120 pound of meat out of the buck. That's deboned.
Yep.
So, I mean, I just think it's kind of expensive. I would love to go other states and deer hunt. I would love to go back to Ohio. I used to hunt Ohio. I used to hunt West Virginia, PA, New York, Virginia, Maryland, Ohio. I used to hunt in New York. I used to hunt all them. Mm-hmm. And I could afford it. But our license were only $50-$60 then.
Right. Yep. Oh, it's definitely changed. And we were supposed to go bear hunting in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And that's going to cost me and you a little bundle, I'll tell you that much. Do you see the bear non-resident tag in PA?
No, we talked about it last year, and it was going to be a piece of cake. You said piece of cake.
Well, we can get a bear. There is no doubt in my mind we can go to PA and I'll kill a bear, or you kill a bear. I guarantee that. The problem of it is number one, we're going to have to find a place now to stay up there, and all their motels are packed in years in advance. Now. We take a trailer up, we could probably make it without a problem. I've got plenty of properties we can put trailers on. You got a travel trailer?
Is that a camper joke?
No. I'm trying to get him to buy my son's hunting or his camper. He's got a 34.5-foot camper for sale. He's only used it once for 2 days. 34.5-foot long.
Yeah. I have an 18.5-foot long item that I've only used twice this year. So in the same.
Well, you two are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Get it?
Literally.
Get it?
Yeah. Nice pun.
Literally,
appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Appreciate it. Hey, let's back to the topic before we get too far off track. When you did this today, I was watching you on camera and Discord, and the things that you were looking for when you're trying to put up a stand, and as I think Wolfram's brought it up, you've brought it up, I brought it up, it changes over the course of the fall. It can change because of the rut, the pre-rut. It can change because of the weather. If a food source goes away, the deer are going to change. If there's a water source that's there that suddenly isn't there, they're going to change based on the surroundings by them. But there was an article that I read. I want to give a shout out to the guy. His name is, where I wrote it down somewhere, Kip Adams. Great article. And I loved the way he put his description of when you're looking at sign of deer, whether it's, and we're going to talk about these rubs, scrapes, funnels, natural funnels, man-made funnels, natural food sources, water sources, food plots, things like that. He put it in terms of what people understand today, which is social media. And the way he was describing it is these rubs and the scrapes and all these things that the deer are doing, it's their version of social media. It's their version of communicating with each other on who is this deer, because they all have unique and individual scents that they're excreting, whether it's on a rub or a scrape. They're using those scents as identifying factors, and it's kind of like their own social media. And I thought that was kind of clever because it makes sense if you put it that way, especially to the millennials, even though they're not going to go out and hunt anyway because it's outdoors and on their feet and not inside in a chair on a computer or an iPad or a phone. That's another story, or that's a whole nother topic. But looking for, you found some today. You found some rubs today.
I ended up finding 4 rubs. This is the earliest I've ever on our farm found rubs. 4 rubs, and one tree was completely demolished. And I showed that to you on camera.
Yep.
He had split the tree and twisted all the limbs up. And I was a conservation officer for 25 years.
No shit.
And I did a lot of studying with the deer, with farmers that had deer problems and everything. And I'm going to tell you, most of the time, when a deer actually destroys a tree, they're coming into that rut pretty heavy. They're trying to strengthen their neck. And they just got so much testosterone, they're just like, they're in a rage. So, and I seen that today, and I was like, why am I we've had no rain in 2 months. We had a wee little sprinkle a week ago that we hardly got anything. And the ground is so hard as a rock here, it's unreal. And I don't understand. The leaves are all just turning brown instead of turning into like yellow and pink and blue and everything. There's nothing pretty. They're all just dropping. And you've seen how open our woods were today. I couldn't believe it. The weeds are not even growing up underneath the forest floor. And you can see the whole way down through the forest. And I've never seen that there. And so I was walking around and I run into 4 rubs, 1 destroyed, and the other 3 real small saplings. They're not very big. And normally when a buck is, and Kentucky always brings in archery season, so people can kill a deer, at least have a chance at a deer in full velvet. So usually around the 2nd going into the 3rd week of September, our deer start rubbing their antlers on very soft items, like a corn stalk. Anything that's really soft, they will start to peel that velvet off. Once they get that velvet pretty much off their antlers, then they start rubbing smaller trees. And that can be a gigantic buck can rub a wee little tiny tree. And what they're doing then is they progress and they get closer to the pre-rut is when you see the bigger bucks start rubbing them 8-inch in diameter trees. You won't get a spike that will come in and or a little 4-point tackle an 8 or 9-inch in diameter tree. And I get this on our farm all the time. We get some huge rubs down there. And we usually get to see them out in the fields. The problem of it is pinpointing that deer and getting it down pat because they seem to always be in a different place of the field every night. But
now, one of the things I learned in just doing some research is because I always literally, and I've hunted my whole life. Like you, I'm not quite as old as you, but I've hunted since I was 11, 12 too.
Right.
I didn't realize that bucks are going to use trees to rub all year round. Once they have that velvet off, it's not just during the rut. I always thought it was a breeding thing. Now it does peak during rut and breeding times, but they do use scrapes and rubs all year round.
Well,
and it again is to give information to other deer that are around on who's there. And a lot of times, and like you said, the mature bucks, they're going to go for the bigger trees. The younger bucks are going to go for the smaller trees. And the more mature bucks, they will even make those rubs in front of other bucks just to show their superiority over those other bucks.
Well, sure. I mean, it's like me and you, we're going to get ready to fight, and I flex my muscle, and you flex yours, it drops down to here. You know, I mean, seriously, that's exactly what they do. You're exactly right. They do. You'll see, I've seen many a times where a buck comes in and comes around my deer stand, and another buck pops up. And he comes in and the hair on the back of his back is standing up. You already know what's about ready to happen. The hair on the back is standing up and he'll go over and just start ripping into a tree, to show his dominance to the other one. And then the other one starts flaring up and he starts ripping into a tree.
Yep.
It's just part of their, but the rubs where you talk about them rubbing all year round, they do not rub from March on until now. Once that velvet starts to drop off. So, and I agree with you, they will rub, and they usually rub in late December into January, especially when them antlers are starting to get loose, trying to get them off of their head, because they will try to get them off their head. Once that antler starts to come off that socket, they can tell that. They'll start rubbing trees trying to get rid of that antler.
Right. And I do want to just back up real quick. I know a lot of people in our chat and who are viewing know what a rub is and know what scrapes are, but I do want to just give a little bit of a background for those that may not, if they're not familiar with, very familiar with deer hunting. When we're talking rubs, we're talking about trees, like Eric was saying, from small trees, saplings, to larger trees, to telephone poles. They'll even use telephone poles if it's in their line, and that's what they're going to use. But they take their antlers and they rub against that tree until the bark, there's a special name for it, I forget what it is, cambrium, nambrium, something brium. Once that bark, I call it bark because I'm casual. It's a visual cue. We can see it. It's very obvious when you're walking through the woods and you see a rub on a tree, you know exactly what it is. Deer know that same thing. It's a visual cue to other deer, whether it's a doe or another buck, that there is a buck that has come and made a rub on that tree. And when they're doing that, and that exposes that scent, and a lot of times they'll use, like Eric, you were talking about when you're walking today about the sassafras trees. They'll use sassafras trees quite a bit, pine trees, cedar trees, anything that has a fragrance to it once they rip that bark off. And then they're rubbing that open bark or that open area on the tree with their glands on their forehead. And that's leaving a unique scent from that deer to inform other deer that are around that might come up and check that rub on what it is, who it is.
Do you know where that gland is?
I no. I mean, no.
Around
yes,
their
but
eye.
no. I don't think I could come up with it right now.
In their eye.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew it was kind of like between somewhere up there.
Yeah, it's in the secretion of their eyes. And when you ever hear of them talk about a deer licking branch?
Yep.
All right, so you'll get a buck that'll come over and be licking that branch, and he will actually get that secretion in the limbs above that from his eyes and leave that scent behind.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty wild.
It's a good segue, because a lot of times when deer are bucks, well, deer in general, because does will do work on or use scrapes as well. When they're picking spots for those scrapes, you're gonna find, and you found a couple spots that were perfect today when you were walking through the woods.
Oh yeah.
They're looking for an overhanging branch that they can do what Eric was just talking about, whether it's lick, chew on, bite on. They're rubbing that gland on that branch that's giving that scent. But that's a lot of times, or most of the time, you're going to see scrapes. And a scrape, just to give some background on scrapes, rubs around trees, scrapes around the ground, and the deer is going to, it's kind of a series of things that the deer is going to do. It's going to find this overhanging branch. It's going to chew on it, lick on it, bite on it, excrete that gland on it. The preorbital, I think that's what it's called, the preorbital gland. I knew it would come to me. And that's kind of part one. And then they take their hooves and they start scraping up the leaves and the underbrush and whatever to expose kind of a divot in the ground to expose that soil. Now, I wanted to bring that up because any of us can do that. Like you can, and Eric, when we were talking about it, you said you have mimicked scrapes before, and that can work. And you said you've had some success, not a ton, but we can mimic those scrapes. If you find an overhanging branch and you can expose that soil, just the scent from that soil alone can attract deer to come in. Then you put a scent drip on that branch that's going to drip down into that scrape, depending on the time of the year, right? That always makes a big difference. If it's the pre-rut, if it's the rut, if it's the post-rut, the second rut, things are going to work a little bit differently. But when we talk now scrapes, that's what we're talking about, on the ground where there's soil exposed. And for me, finding the rubs is always more exciting than the scrapes, because I feel like I see more scrapes than I see rubs. And it's probably because there are more scrapes than rubs.
Well, one deer can make up to 40.
I love seeing the rubs.
One buck can make up to 40 scrapes. I mean, right. and the other thing I was going to say on them scrapes, and I want to say this is only my theory. Mm-hmm. When I'm out in open woods and I find a great big scrape as big as my desk, I'm talking 6-7 foot in diameter.
Yep.
Scrape, I won't even mess with that scrape. Oh. It may be tore up, a million tracks in it. It may look like the best, hottest spot, nice big overhanging branch hanging down. I will leave that alone. I will not hunt that. What I look for is I look for a whole mess of rubs with a few scrapes real close or nearby that in a thicket, on the edge of the thicket, and then I will set my tree stand up.
Okay.
That you will have more success, I feel, and I always have, on them thickets that have a bunch of small trees that are just tore to heck and a few scrapes on that outer edge than you will out in the open woods finding a great big scrape. You may sit there for a week on that open scrape and not see a deer off of that.
Oh, for sure.
That is me. I mean, from all the hunting I've done, and I've set up, I don't know how many tree stands in my life and bounced all over the forest. It is unreal. And usually ridge lines and creek beds are what I try to look for. Now, here in Kentucky, I don't have ridge lines. So we only have creek beds, or we have like sloughs. And the deer love here. They will run in them sloughs all day long.
Yeah.
We have them going right through the middle of our fields, and you'll be sitting there and there won't be nothing out there. And then halfway in the field, you just look back and there may be 7 deer out there in the middle of the field right by that slough where they popped up out of that slough, running that slough. So,
and don't get too far ahead, because we're going to talk about that coming up after the scrapes. But to your point, and you know, depending on what article you read and from what source, some people will say absolutely never set up a stand on a scrape or a scrape line, or absolutely never set up a stand on a rub line. I think they're probably both accurate and both fictitious. I think there's a happy medium, and kind of like what you're saying is you're looking kind of for that combo platter. And if you know, we're going to come kind of full circle towards the end even more, but the bedding is another, you know, debate. Do you set up close to a bedding? Yes, you want to set up kind of close to where the buck or the deer are bedding, close to where there's rubs, close to where there's scrapes. But what you don't want to do necessarily is set up right on top of it. You kind of want to be in that vicinity where they're traveling. And to talk a little bit more about the specifics of scrapes, it is like we said, they're scratching up that soil, and they're going to urinate on that spot. They're going to stomp on it. That's giving out secretions from their hooves. They're going to urinate on it, and it's not just doe or bucks that are urinating in those scrapes. It could be does as well.
Well, they definitely, when they do urinate, they urinate on their hocks. They let it run down their legs onto their hocks and then into the scrape, because there's actually a gland there on their hocks.
The tarsal gland. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
And the one of the things I learned is yearling bucks, especially, but younger bucks are just going to urinate on it. They're not going to run it past that tarsal gland, whereas more mature bucks are going to do that. And what I read was that's one way to tell kind of the age of a buck is if it's a darker colored or a darker stained colored tarsal gland, that is a more mature buck, because they're using that gland when they're urinating into the scrape. And I've seen it now a couple of different places. It's called rub urination and just urination. And what the studies are showing is that the younger bucks aren't using that tarsal gland, and they're not doing the scrape urination, which was interesting. To me, that was interesting.
Yeah.
But again, that tarsal gland, that when you're talking about that's giving a specific and unique scent from that specific deer, which is, it's like, think about it as like, what do you use? Old Spice? What's your clone of choice? Old Spice?
No. Would you? All right, Joker.
Yeah, I'm a joker. But think of it in terms of that. It's like their own cologne. It's like their own brand, their own version of a cologne. It's giving a unique scent from them which is giving information to other deer when they come up on that scrape, whether it's another buck or a doe. That scent is there, and that's giving information. Again, going back to that Kip Adams kind of theory of scrapes and rubs, and these things are the deer's version of social media. It's how they learn about each other and communicate of who's been where. Now, like you're saying, scrapes, man, they're great, and you're going to see a lot of them, and they can be very hot areas, can be for hunting. Because during the breeding season, they are going to be leveraging those scrapes a lot more, both bucks and does. The problem, like what you were saying, is you can't necessarily target a specific deer based on scrapes, because those in a 2-week time period during the rut, you might have 20 different bucks come up to that scrape, and 20 different does. You have no idea. And it kind of goes into the home area of the deer and the core home area. That all kind of plays into it, but they're using those scrapes. So again, coming back to the strategy of where do I set up my stand? You're looking for scrapes, you're looking for rubs, you're looking for bedding areas, and you're trying to find a happy medium that you're not intruding, you're not too close, you're not getting in the way. And then keep in mind the scrapes, I think statistics show it's about 80%, or maybe a little bit more than 80% of scrapes are being hit before daylight or right after sunset. So in that aspect, they're not great to hunt over if that's all you're hunting over, because chances are there might be deer activity there, but that deer activity is not during shooting hours, right? So if you can get between the bedding area and those scrapes and those rubs, that buck is going to and from those scrapes and rubs to the bedding area, to a feeding area. You want to find that spot. And that's where, and then now we kind of get into, did you have anything else on scrapes that you wanted to talk about?
No, I just, you're getting into the next subject that I'm sure that we're going to cover, because when you talk about the bedding area and the feeding area, then that's going to match with what go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to bring up is, and then you can give me a wink if I'm not on track with where your brain is going, but funnels.
Yep.
Both natural funnels and human-made funnels. And believe it or not, if your property doesn't have funnels, which I guarantee it does, because funnels can be as simple as a change in trajectory of the land, whether it's 10 feet, 5 feet, it could be anything. It could be logs. It could be down-felled trees.
Narrowing of the woods. Cutting, like on our property, and I want to bring up what you were showing me today. On our property, it's pretty thick. There's a lot of thick shit, but that's good, because that's where bucks want to spend most of their time, in the thick shit. But just because they spend their time in the thick stuff doesn't mean they don't want an easy way out. Everybody wants an easy button. Deer are no different. If you cut a path through that thick shit, guess where the deer are going to go? They're going to walk down the path, because it's a path of least resistance. And deer, one of the things that deer are really good at is conserving energy. They want to conserve energy. So if they can walk down a path that's going through the thickets, but it's easy walking, that's where they're going to go. And there was another thing, and I know, Cheryl, you deal with animals and livestock and things like that. One of the things I read was, if you think about it in terms of livestock, and let's say you have 80 acres of a pasture, and you're going to throw 40 cattle in that pasture. There's no trees, and there's not more than 10 feet of a difference between height levels throughout that 80 acres. If you come back there a month later, you're going to find specific trails that those cattle are following, and it's going to be based on their the land, the topography of that land. Because there's funnels. There are natural funnels based on, and it could be as easy as it's better footing, right? Those are the things that you can look for and look at, and using a topography map to start. If you're going to hunting a new piece of property, like if I were to come down to you, Eric, I would absolutely
peek at a topo map before I came down there to say, okay, what am I dealing with? What's the terrain? Where do I think there's going to be natural funnels?
You'd die if you looked at a topo map. There is no terrain. The only terrain we have is sloughs.
Yes.
The only terrain we have terrain is sloughs. And that's why I told you today when I was walking back, what did I say about my deer herd down there? They have changed from last year. For 5 years, they all been crossing at the one end of the field. All the activity was up there. I don't know why, but today the activity was like within 300 to 400 yards from where I parked my truck. I mean, all the deer sign, the trails. I mean, I had trails this wide cutting through, but there's something that has changed. The last 5 years, they were all up where my stand. I may end up having to move everything down closer to the truck this year because I've never seen the activity down there closer to the truck like this. And it's like really heavy down there too. It really, this is the earliest I've actually walked through there scouting because I usually wait until it cools off. Today it was 85 and the humidity was through the roof, and all I did was sweat down there when I was there. But all the activity that I seen has changed almost by a half a mile in them woods.
Yeah. But again, you've had floods, you've had flooding.
Well, yeah.
There's been things that have happened that can and will change their path.
Floods every year there too. We're under 12 foot. You've seen me take that limb out of my tree stand. It was up as high as I could reach from the floods where the log was jammed into my tree stand.
Yeah.
I mean, we usually, like this year, we were probably 12, 14 foot underwater. So it was probably about 1.5 to 2 foot from the base of where I set my feet at on the stand.
You know, there was a monster blue cat that was swimming around.
Oh, I guarantee it. That's what makes me pissed off even more. I could have been sitting in that tree stand with my rod catching a big blue cat. I know. It would have been the best thing ever.
Bron Score, what's the best way to watch a fishing tournament on TV?
No, on Twitch. We're on Twitch. We could have a fishing tournament. Me and you. Me against you.
You know me better than that. I don't do fishing tournaments on Twitch.
Yeah, but I mean, you could have one.
Yeah, but then that's a competition. I don't do competitions.
I just want to freaking fish. And you. We don't have to have anything. I mean, you may have to jump up and down and do a somersault in the lake if I win.
The key word is if. I like your optimism.
Telling. I mean, it can be a tournament between two people, you know, me and you.
Okay.
Maybe we can. I'll tell you what. Since archery season's coming up, maybe we could go live on here and both of us be out with our crossbows and have a crossbow shooting contest.
On
Since
targets?
you don't like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or I could come down to you for a long weekend. We could go carp fishing. We could go catfishing. And then we could do crossbows.
I don't want you near me if I put that apple on my head. There is no way I'm putting an apple on my head like you wanted to do last year.
Worked out for Joker. He survived it. He's still alive. As a matter of fact, some might even say after we had that incident with Joker and the apple on his head and me shooting it with the crossbow, that lobotomy I gave him actually did him good. It helped.
Really?
That's what some say.
No, but seriously, going back to that, the funnels.
Yep.
My farm is a lot different than other places. If you're in, Iowa, Kansas, places that's flat like it is here.
Yep.
We have what I call them woodlot bucks here. We don't have forests that run like I had in PA. I was up there in the middle of the mountains, and it was nothing but forest. You could walk for miles before you even crossed a road in the woods. Now, here, we have fields that go 5-6 miles long, and you have what I call woodlot that's either anywhere from 30 yards wide to 150 yards wide, running between fields. And that's how our property is laid out. So we have all these woodlots that run in between our fields. And them deer that, like, usually it's either the one end of that or the other end that is really thick that I've noticed here for us. Like, the middle is all open woods. And the deer go through there, but they usually skirt that by the edge of the field. Now, instead of walking down the middle of them wood lines, they'll be right over the edge of that field, by the edge of that field, where them tree limbs hang down by the field, where they're kind of protected. They feel more protected.
Yep.
And they'll walk them. But most of the time, our thickest spots are at the end of them fields. Like, where you get to the end of the field, we'll have, like here, I have a lot of grapevines in these swamp areas that are all dried up right now. There's a weird tree that grows in there that's just windy, and them deer go right through that crap. Me and you, it would take us a half an hour to follow a deer 50 yards in that stuff down there. Right. It gets so thick. But them deer they're right through them.
Now, I'm going to ask you questions. There are things that you could do, and I'm not suggesting that you could do this. I'm kind of using as an example, but if you have studied the pattern of those deer and you know those deer are going down a certain angle at a certain point of that wood line, there are things that somebody could do to push and funnel those deer to where you want them to go. Whether it's...
You mean put on a drive?
No.
Are you talking about driving?
Yeah. Do people do that in Kentucky? They do it here. I hate it.
They do it in Pennsylvania quite a bit. There's not enough people here to put them on in these farms. Usually there's only 3 or 4 that hunt these farms. So
no, I've done it. I'm not a fan. I don't think it's hunting. I don't. And it's dangerous. To me, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Oh, it could be.
I don't want to be getting shot at. I don't want to be shooting at other people. I'm not Dick Cheney.
As long as you know what you're doing, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
I know what I'm doing. Right? I'm not always the one in control of the bullets and the trigger when you're doing drives. And when you're doing drives in thicket or in the swamps where there's 14, 16 foot tall cattails. No, I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. Anywho, you could take felled trees. You could cut down trees if you're on private land, of course. Not condoning cutting down trees on public land. But you could take branches. You could take all the shit that's on the ground and kind of shove it up and stuff it up to that spot. If you know they're coming to that spot, you could put things in their way that would cause them to veer the other direction, right? Which you're causing, you're building a natural funnel. Or I'm sorry, you're building a funnel where there's not a natural funnel. And you can do this. And especially if you provide those deer an easier, you put up that barrier or multiple barriers or 50 yards of a barrier or whatever it might be. You were showing me today, you guys cut those little things, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, that is what I was showing you off of our one tree stand. Our fields, we laid in piping a few years ago for drainage in all of our fields. Because when we do get a lot of water, this black drain pipe, the water goes into it and then it carries it out of the field for us. It just doesn't sit there and then your crop goes bad. So at the ends of where we have them funneled to, we take the excavator and go down through the woods and cut a ditch out to let that water drain on down through. Well, when we've done that, all we've made is a major deer highway.
Correct.
And you'll get in that tree stand and you'll see them deer come out of the thickets and drop right into that ditch and walk that ditch right out and hit the corner of the field.
Right.
And then they spread out in the field. But it's like that funnel effect is probably one of the best that I've seen down here, for them deer. And they love being below the ground level because that ditch that I showed you is probably another 5 foot over my head.
Yeah.
And them deer are walking in there. And if you're standing up here on the bank deer hunting, you won't even know that there's deer right there on top of you walking past.
Right.
And they're gone until they pop out in the field.
Yep. And that is, you made a funnel for those deer to follow. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even if you're dealing with an area where you don't have a lot of tree cover or woods, you can do things, of course, again, if you have the means to do it. But there are ways to create funnels to drive those deer exactly where you want them. And it might be you're driving them to a food plot that you've planted.
Right.
But you can find that, you're putting now we're kind of pulling this all together. You've got scrapes, you've got rubs, you've got bedding areas. You're looking for natural funnels, you're building funnels. You're taking kind of, for lack of better terms, you're taking control of your own success. It's possible. It's not, I'm not here to say if you do all of these things, you're going to shoot the biggest bucks every year. That's not going to happen. But you can give yourself a better chance at success of any kind of a deer, whether it's a buck or a doe, if you're looking for the signs that the deer are providing and using it to your advantage. Correct?
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, like I was saying, our farm is unique for me.
Mm-hmm.
Out of every place that I've hunted in the United States, I've been able to understand our farm so much better because we have areas that are thickets that we get a lot of buck rubs in. I showed you the pictures today. I sent them to you. Great big giant buck rubs. I mean, trees this big. As far as you can see in the picture, you can see them on the trees all the way down through. That's a thicket. And there's always 3 or 4 rubs in there. Now, our biggest buck rubs that we always find right before rut are in them thickets. And I honestly believe hunting edges of them thickets right about pre-rut, right into the rut, is always been better for having a chance of killing a bigger buck.
Yep.
I've always felt that way. That at least I know, and I'll see them out in the field. They'll be in that area. I just got to get them in front of me to shoot them with the bow and arrow.
Right. Now, we've gone over rubs, we've gone over scrapes, we've gone over funneling, we've kind of gone over food sources and water sources kind of indirectly. If you pull all of those things together, the last thing in the equation is what? Do you know, Eric, what I'm thinking?
What you're thinking. The last thing, kill the deer. Oh,
we're playing charades.
No, wind is great. Listen, wind is great for you. It's better than, listen, I'm telling you right now, you get a real good windy day, you don't see shit. It's the best thing. You can stay home. You don't even have to go. Fishing is a whole different ballgame because you go out and then the wind goes and you're like, oh, shit, now I'm out here. I might as well fish. And then you sit there and complain about it. But if I'm sitting
if I've learned one thing, Eric, from watching fishing on Twitch, especially in Florida, if it's more than 8 miles an hour, you cannot go fishing. It's not possible.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, I have hunted in some of the windiest. I've had to get out of my tree stands before. The wind is blowing hard. I mean, and you're up there, and the tree is. I swear to you, it's moving this bad.
Yeah.
And you got to get out of that tree stand. Now, here's the thing: you will see deer in the wind. I'm not saying that at all, but they are so jumpy when it's that windy, every little thing that happens in woods, they are jumpy, ready to bolt. And I've seen them, and most of the time, if it gets up real heavy, they will bed down. And if I get that, I won't even go hunting. That's why I say it's the best thing in the world, because I know whether I'm going hunting or not.
Well, see, I don't mind hunting in the wind sometimes. But where I was going with wind is you take all the things that we've talked about: rubs, scrapes, bedding, funnels, paths, food sources, water sources. Now you have you're finding a place to put your stands, right? That's what we're talking about tonight, is this stand placement strategy. Now you have to take into consideration scent, the wind. If you found these spots and you find a spot that you think is going to work, if you have the means, if it's possible, it is best to put up multiple stands that are going to allow you.
I have 4 stands to allow me for almost every direction of wind.
Exactly. And then, so it's like coming full circle. You've got all of these things. This is almost like you almost need a scientific degree. You don't, clearly, because I have had success deer hunting and I do these things. So you must not need to be too smart, because clearly I'm not. But you're putting this all together, and if you have these means to do this, it's going to provide a better chance at success. That was to Joker, by the way. Now, one of the things that people don't think about a lot is thermal current. I have never given thermal current a thought. I haven't.
Is that like a thermocline in the water?
Let's not go down that road.
Oh, I want to go down that road. Because there's many people that have no idea what a thermocline even is.
I'm aware. I mean, kind of. So if like, take the spot that I was sitting in last year, a bunch. It's a 5-acre open field. Well, now it's not open because there's planted corn, asshole, instead of beans.
Right.
But if after he's harvested that corn and I'm sitting in that stand and I'm on the west side of that 5-acre plot, the sun's coming up from the east in the morning. And when that sun is coming up, it's warming up the air on my side of the field first. That is warmer air there than there is over here on the other side of the field. And that warmer air and cooler air kind of collide. It's how we get storms, right? If you watch storm, we've watched plenty of storm chasers this year. That starts to make the air swirl. So even there's been times where I've been sitting there and like, that deer was spooked because it smelled me. And I don't know how it smelled me, because there's no wind. I didn't move. I'd used my scent killer. I did all of the right things. And I never considered thermal current of where that sun is. And if there's things around you, around your stand, that are going to retain that weather, that warmth, that heat from the sun over other things, rocks, dark conifer trees, anything that's going to contain that heat differently than the air is going to cause a little bit of thermal current swirl. So I don't know that knowing that is going to change how I place my stands. Just because to me, that's like having rubs, scrapes, bedding, food sources, water sources, funnels. All of that is enough for my brain to go kaboom. Now you add in thermal current, it's like, nah, it's too much for me. I get it. I understand it. And I understand the concept and the theory behind it, but I don't think it's going to change where I put my stands. Actual wind direction, absolutely. I will have, again this year, multiple stands set up so that I can play the wind. Wolfram saying large topography changes are a large influence in thermal currents. Right. I never thought about thermal currents until recently, reading up on some of these things. It's a huge issue on my home farms. Yeah. It does take it does come into play. I just never even considered it.
So what he's saying there right now, and Wolfram, if you don't mind me asking you, do you have a very much of a different of height on your farm? I mean, is there like, do you have like a 50, 100 foot difference on your farm, or is it flat like it is here where I'm at?
Yeah, the breeze that's opposite of the primary wind.
Yes, yeah, and it's almost the same as like where I hunt beside the Ohio River, and I was going to bring this up earlier. If I'm hunting at the Ohio River on the bank, I can have one breeze coming one way, like a warm air coming down the field, and see the wind blowing the total opposite direction below me along the river. I mean, within 50 feet, 50 yards. It's like that river holds its own. I'm in the bluff one. Okay. All right. That makes sense to me. And I think that's really true further out west. Also,
yes.
You get up into Wyoming, Montana, and that when you have different elevations, you'll have 2 or 3 different thermo kinds that happen there. I don't experience that here, Wolfram.
Yeah.
Where I live, the only difference that I experience here is that Ohio River can be such a drastic change, because I can be here at the house and we have 2-mile-an-hour winds. I drive down to the farm, get out, and it's like I got 15-mile-an-hour winds now blowing. And it's blowing totally different than what it's saying on the map.
Right.
And it just throws you way off.
That was the thing in the articles I was reading about it is, and this, I don't think it was meant to be picking on anything or picking on certain parts of the country, but it was basically everybody saying east of the Mississippi, nobody even thinks about it.
Right.
It's when you get west of the Mississippi and like you're saying, the Montanas, the Wyoming, South Dakotas, Colorados, that's where people know a lot more about that thermal current because they're experiencing a lot more, kind of like what Wolfram is speaking of there. It was an interesting aspect to stand placement that I had never considered before. Like I said, I understand it. I don't know it's going to change how I place my stands, because I don't think, to your point, Eric, I don't think it's messing up my hunt to the level where I would have to take that into a major consideration.
I don't even take that into consideration here at all. The only thing that I take in consideration is if I'm hunting close to that riverbank.
Yes.
Where I can actually see.
If we're talking, we're not just talking to people in the Midwest here. We're not just talking to people on the East Coast. It's everywhere. So if we're truly talking about stand placement strategy, that is something, if you have like what Wolfram's talking about, or if you are on the West, the upper Midwest, the West side of the Midwest, those are things that you should take into consideration. Not everybody has to, not everybody will, but there are instances, like we were saying, that it can play into where you would place your stand based on that thermal current. It's very interesting. I thought it was.
Yeah, because I've had like Jim tell me that he's hunting at 10,000 foot elevation, have a wind blowing one way while he's elk hunting, and he gets a bugle and tries to go onto that bugle, and the wind's perfect here. But when he starts down, the wind's blowing right at that elk, and it's just the change in it. It's the same way, like I say, it's the same that I have. Our bank to the river, some places, is about 20-foot drop. And I've had tree stands right on the edge of that. And it's funny because them deer will run that edge of that riverbank right next to the river. Mm-hmm. Probably more than they do up on the ground where my tree stand's at. They'll run that riverbank because it's thick right on the edge of that riverbank along that river, and they feel safe on that riverbed coming up through. So, yeah, that's Wind plays a big role in deer hunting, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It is, and it should. And in order to play the wind, like we say it all the time, play the wind. In order to play the wind, you have to know how the deer are playing the wind, right? You need to know how the deer are leveraging that wind. And very rarely is a big buck going to be standing out in an open area where he is not having or be able to use the wind to his advantage. It's just not going to happen.
Well, all right, let me ask you this. The higher up you are in a tree, and I'm going to bounce this off of you, so hold on.
Okay.
The higher up in the tree, do you feel safer with the wind blowing at the deer that are coming into you?
No.
Do you feel your air is going to stay up here on this height of your body with the deer down here at 20 foot?
No.
Now, me, I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't going to catch my dead ass at 20 feet. My 18-foot and 16-foot tree stands, when I'm in my 18-foot tree stand, it's like I'm sitting up there ready to fall out.
You're Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm on top of the world.
Strap me in, you no good son of a gun, because I'm coming out. Yeah. It's bad. And I hate being that high, but I have seen people here, Todd, that are hunting 23, 24 foot up in trees.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing? They honestly feel that they can hunt any wind in that. Well, that may be true if that deer's in close to them. Yeah. All right. If that deer just pops out of the non-wind area and comes around into their wind area that's blowing into the hunter, that they're close to that tree, they'll probably be just fine. But if that deer's out 150 yards coming in, I guarantee you at 20 feet, they're gonna pick that smell up from that hunter.
And look, I'm going to be very brutally honest. We saw what kind of year I had last year in the stand, right?
Right.
In my head, the further up in the tree that I am, the further away from the deer I am. And clearly I need to be as close as I can possibly get to those freaking deer. So, I mean, honestly, but joking aside, there's been plenty of years that I've only used one 5-foot ladder and then put my stand on that and leaned it up against a tree. It just depends on, if you're hunting down a ridge, I don't need to be fucking 20 feet up in the air.
Well,
I can go 5 feet up.
My highest is 18-foot tree stand that I have down there, and I don't like it. I hate being in that tree stand. And it's probably one of the best locations down there to deer hunt off of. But I'm telling you, I'm uncomfortable in it. When I'm sitting in, and I don't know what it is. I've always hated heights, though. So it's like when back years ago, Todd, I don't know if you remember the little teeny tiny stand that you put on the tree and you climbed up the tree and you sit on a 12-inch by 14-inch screen or board.
Yep.
That was hooked on that tree. Yep. And buddy, I don't know how many people as a conservation officer that we went in and had to clean up off the forest floor because of them. They're the most dangerous tree stands. They just had the fork in the back and the fork in the front. And the pressure of your feet locked that tree stand in.
Yep, I have one. I use one.
And they are so dangerous. People don't realize how easy you stepping on, like leaning out. You don't, my Lord. And I had one of them, and I'm telling you, there was 2 or 3 times I thought I was coming a tree. And I was like, you know what? I just took it in and put it away. And then I went out and built a tree stand in the tree stand, which I was allowed because my uncles owned the farm.
Right.
So I just built them for safety purposes.
Hey, you can still build stands. You just can't necessarily attach it to a tree.
Number one, if it ain't your property, you better have written permission.
Fuck that.
If you're going to
build stuff. Look,
if you're going to
I'm going to Deer Butch's. I saw Deer Butch putting his stand up yesterday. I mean, this thing isn't a deer stand, Eric. This thing is
Oh, I can guarantee it's a house. He probably has a refrigerator and a heater in it.
Dude, it's a Holiday Inn. He sleeps in it. He cooks breakfast, steak, and eggs, and he's got an air conditioner in there and a heater.
I don't doubt it. Did you see my little? Did you see my little camp that I had last year for my? Yeah. All right, so I've got a heater in there. I got a buddy heater. It's like the best thing ever. I love that little buddy heater. It keeps me nice. I can go in there and take my coat off, and I'm like sitting. It's like great, Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets, you go down there at 32 degrees in the morning, and then it turns 60 in the middle of the day. You got to shut it off. But that morning, oh, baby, you crank that little baby up there and sit back there in the chair, and you can actually, if you wanted to, you could close your eyes and go to sleep.
Well, that's a given. I mean, anybody that tells you they don't nap in their deer stand is...
Oh, I don't. I don't nap.
You say you never nap. We hear you snoring every day.
No, that ain't me. That's Luna.
No, that's Luna. It's Pam.
Yeah.
Blame it on Pam.
No, I didn't say
Pam.
Did I say Pam? I said Luna. Mm-hmm. Get that right, boy.
I'm not your boy.
There we go with the
but I mean, I have one of those stands, and I've had it up, I think, for now 6 years. I don't like it. I never liked it. It's uncomfortable.
Do you know what the name of it is? Because I'm sitting here trying to bring it back in my mind. When I first bought
gravity stands.
No. There's.
Well, I'm trying to go through all the different kinds of stands in my head. You've got the ladder stands, the gravity stands. You've got the sex swing ones now, the slings.
What?
Which I still. Have you never heard of the sling stand?
No. I know what you're talking about with the sling. I thought you said something. Never mind.
Well, that's what it reminds me of. That's all I'm saying.
The swing stands. Ryan actually tried one from our game warden here last year, and he put Ryan up in the tree. The game warden did, who hunts with us sometimes, and he was way out, and God. Back around the tree, and I'm like, holy, you ain't seen this fat ass going up that tree doing that.
No.
I'd be falling right out of that tree stand.
Wolfram brings up, and that was a point that I was actually going to make until we got sidetracked by the sex sling talk, but you haven't lived until you hunted in Minnesota in 0 degrees or -10, -15, and you have to sit in that damn stand for 4, 6, 8 hours.
Yeah, I used to in PA. 20 below zero.
That puts hair on your chest right there.
Yeah, it sure does. I don't have to do that no more.
Well, I mean, I don't have to either. It's not Russia. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to sit out in the elements. But my balls dropped a long time ago, so I'm going to go sit out in the elements.
Well, I wear a T-shirt sometimes, short sleeve T-shirt for the whole 2 weeks of deer season. Here's a long sleeve right here, but it bothers me, so I wear a short sleeve inside. Oh, it's like great, Todd. You ought to
freaking prima donna.
You ought to try that sometime. Go out in your tree stand. Now you hunt in your underwear when you're fishing your underwear. What are you talking about?
I have never fished in my underwear, mister.
I've seen you. It's at the start of the show.
No. I've never fished in my underwear.
On the beginning of the show, them ain't your underwear? Oh, you're going to tell me them are your shorts, huh?
My leggings?
No. At the beginning of this TV show, you're sitting there dancing on that seat, and it looks like you're sitting in your underwear on the ice.
Oh, in shorts. Shorts and socks and a sweatshirt on the ice. It was beautiful. It was like 32 degrees that day. It was gorgeous. It was awesome. All right. So anyway, kind of coming all the way back, we've got all of these different things that we've talked about tonight as far as what to look for, what to use, how to decide where you're going to put a stand if you have the ability to do so. Take these things into consideration. And I mean, I think bow season is open pretty much everywhere at this point, if not in the next week or so. I don't know which states aren't quite open yet, but I think a lot or most of them are.
I think Pennsylvania comes in October. The first week of October.
Yeah, I knew there was one that came in the first week of October. I just couldn't remember which one. But I hope you, Eric, I hope you have great success this fall in your deer stand. I hope I have great success in my deer stand. I hope everybody out there that is hunting this fall has success, whatever that success might look like. And keep in mind, I'll say this, that success doesn't always mean that you have a freezer full of meat. It doesn't always mean that you have big antlers to hang on the wall. Success could literally just be that you got out into the wilderness, into the outdoors, sat in a stand, relaxed, got to enjoy animals, whether it's deer, squirrels, raccoons, whatever it might be. If you're happy and you're making memories, that's success. Just keep that in mind. Everybody, I think, needs sometimes to take a step back and remember that successful deer hunting doesn't always end in harvesting a deer, right?
Yeah.
I had to keep that in mind last year. Trust me, that was hard.
I will say to Wolfram, I used to live in the middle of Pennsylvania mountains, and I've hunted many a days 20 below zero with 4, 5, 6 foot of snow on the ground. The thing, and I love muzzleloader hunting. What shocked me, and we're out of kilter here with it, but what shocked me is when I moved here to Kentucky, Wolfram, I got adopted to a whole new type of muzzleloader hunting. In PA, we had to hunt primitive muzzleloaders. So it had to be a flintlock. You had to pour your powder in the bowl. Sometimes I was out there, it'd be snowing like crazy, and you'd snap the trigger, that flint would go down and hit, you'd get a spark, and no ignition. And you cock it back again, and the deer takes 2 or 3 steps, you pull it again, and it doesn't go up. I've had that happen so many times to me that I get frustrated. When I came here, I have a muzzleloader here right now, sitting in my gun cabinet, that I guarantee you at 300 yards, I put a group like that. That the thing is better than a rifle. It is unbelievable. My grandson shot his first buck with it during youth deer season when he was 12. The gun is, I can't believe they allow you to use this for muzzle. You might as well just go ahead and allow people to use their rifles. My muzzleloader can...
Don't even get me started on that topic. Here in Minnesota, it's ridiculous.
It makes no sense. This gun that I have is incredible.
Yeah.
But I wish they would make it all primitive again, because I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Now I just slide like a shotgun shell down in my gun, drop my round in there, hit it one time, and it's seated, drop the shotgun shell in, click it back up, and boom. I can be reloaded in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
To where before I had to get the powder horn out and pour it in so much. You press the trigger and allow it to fill up so much and dump it in, and it's 20 below zero. You're freezing to death. I miss that. I do miss that kind of hunting.
Yeah, I can. It must, using that primitive must be nostalgic for you, because back in the Civil War, that's the way you loaded your guns too, right?
No, I borrowed them from you.
Oh. I see.
Go ahead, slam me. I'm not that old. Actually, I'm younger than you. Yeah, I'm younger than you at heart.
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe. How many? Well, I'm not going to go there. I was going to ask how many stints you have. Your heart should be younger than mine.
Hey, I do. My heart is artificial. Doing perfect. No, it's not. I only have 5 stents in there.
Okay.
And that was because of women. All right?
Preach, Brother Eric. I hear you. All right. Well, everybody, keep in mind, these episodes are all on YouTube under Cast and Camo TV. If you haven't given us a subscribe on YouTube, please do. We're approaching 100 subscribers on there. I don't want to have to buy subscribers. Okay, so everybody tell your family, tell your friends. You know who
Why are
buys
you going to buy
subscribers?
them?
I'm not
Why?
gonna. Never mind.
All right. Gee whiz, don't ruin my night.
I had to go there. It's funny to me. Yes. Exclamation point short to get to our shorts. Exclamation point YouTube to get to our YouTube. Exclamation point website to check out our website. On our website, you can see the last 12 episodes. Still haven't figured out how to get around that little glitch. It's not a glitch. It's just that's what I pay for. I'm not paying for like a super website where we can have every single episode. So I might have to just break it up into multiple different sections and have all of them on there. But check out our website, exclamation point website. We got merch on there. New merch is going to be coming soon. Don't forget our sponsors, Texas Select Seasoning, exclamation point BBQ in chat. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description below. Cast and Camo in all caps to get 15% off your order. Check out Sea Arc Boats, exclamation point Sea Arc. Again, the link will be down in the description on YouTube. And last but not least, deer hunting season. Check out Deer 30. Those guys are a hoot. And they give us a huge discount. Cast and Camo 24 to get 24% off all of your needs for food plotting and minerals and everything. They got some cool merch too. Join in Discord, exclamation point Discord if you want to join Discord. Get all the happenings. But thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, everybody, and appreciate it. And for Cast and Camo, I'm Todd.
And I'm Eric.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.